welcome. It's Captain Matt, Boater Secret Weapon. I want to thank you for joining us for this Sunday night live. We're getting ready to start here in just a couple of minutes here. We'll start about 8:30, but I wanted to welcome you. If you've never been to a live, here's what you can expect. Just go ahead and chat in your comment section, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube. Just ask your question, leave your comment there, and then as we go through the time, I just kind of scroll down all the comments and I try to answer them. Now, if it's something that I need to ask you a question, I may ask you a question and just put it in the chat again, and I'll come back and I'll get that information so I can give you a more personalized response, something that's going to really add value for you. This is just something I do. One, it's great fun. I really enjoy it. It's helpful for the community, just sharing my knowledge. Now, one thing that you need to know, I don't know everything about boats. I know a lot about boats. I've been a boater since I was 5. I've sold boats. It's something that is a big part of my life. With that said, I don't know everything. Matter of fact, sailboats, have zero experience with sailboats. Bass boats, very little experience there. Bow riders, deck boats, center consoles, jet boats, twin engines, stern drives, outboards, inboards, all of that I have experience with. And if I have an answer, I'll give you my best answer. If I don't have an answer, I'll try to give you a resource that will be valuable for you. If I have an opinion, I'll try to give you that opinion, but let you know this is what I think, not what I absolutely know. So I look forward to it. Here's a little video intro that a subscriber made for me. Thanks, Bo. And we'll see you on the live when it kicks off here in just a moment. Welcome, everybody, to the Sunday live here on the Boat Buyer Secret Weapon channel. Great to have you. Appreciate you joining us. And we've got Ray on the line. We've got sustainability on the line, and got a question going on the lift. So we'll sustainability. We'll jump into that here in just a little bit, and talk about the shore station. Corey, welcome. Good to have you. Brock, good to have you. Just built his boathouse. Stuck a standard Magnum lift there for his bass boat. Pretty sweet setup, just like you. Party house, boathouse. Yeah, I love the new setups and what they're doing. Some of the stuff the dock builders are doing, and sustainability. I'll talk about that once we welcome everybody. Brian, welcome from West Virginia. 211, good to have you. Jerry from up in Chesapeake, welcome. Bo Saint from up in Washington State area. My niece's anointment into our church. Very cool. Congratulations to your little niece. Eric, welcome. Thank you. I appreciate that. That was those are some long researched, and they take me a while to put those together and to try to get as complete a picture as I'm able to. As soon as I put it out, though, I'm like, oh crap, I should have added that, or ooh, that information's coming out tomorrow, but at some point I gotta do it. So welcome, and appreciate it. 211, he's looking for his what was it, 248? No, 268. He's looking for a C Pro to get delivered. Multitasking, watching there's some good football on to outrank me for sure. Eddie, oh, you're very welcome. Glad to have you. That's a new name I don't recognize. Maybe a watcher, but first time commenting. Thank you. And haven't seen anything yet. That's awesome. All right, so I've got to jump right to sustainability. So what I wanted to do is I will pull up the shore station. Oh, why didn't it want me to do that? The window, the entire screen. That's what I wanted to do. All right. So let me share the right image here. I'm going to go small, but this is so I think something like this is what you're looking to do, where the you've got the platform and you've got the lift. Now with Shore Station, here's what I know about Shore Station sustainability is they've been building lifts for a long, long, long time. They had a design that uses their kind of their hydraulic system, and on the lakes in the Midwest and the upper Midwest, where they will oftentimes pull the docks, is they've got a crank system that you spin this big huge wheel and you raise and lower the boat manually. You can put it on a little motor, and now they've got that set up with the battery system that you can set. I think they said like 50 or 60 feet away from the actual lift, so you can kind of get that up out of the way where it's going to be good. But what some of the dock builders are doing is they're saying, okay, because we don't have the cables that are going up um, to a post that are spinning and rolling up that coil, they're pulling a hydraulic system and they're doing it horizontal instead of vertical. They have the option to all they need are the platforms to lift the boat. Now, when that boat's gone, I mean, that's lifting your Bennington is what, 4,000 pounds with that 300, or do you have a 350 on it? Anyway, it's a heavy boat with all the furniture on that queue and the fiberglass and the big outboard that you have on it. So you put 10 people on it and you're 2,000 pounds, 2,500 pounds if they're bigger like me. So you've got a platform that's going to sustain that weight. And when they deck it in like that, I don't know how well you can see it here. Let me go big. I don't know if I can, what will happen if I zoom in? Yeah, nothing's going to happen. But you can see you just have the uprights that are going to hold the bunk. They do a flexible, instead of just putting a 2x6 across there. And I guess this wouldn't apply to your pontoon. The pontoon will have, let me come back. Sustainability. The pontoon will have 2x4 bunks that sit like this and just run the full length. You'll have uh, 3 sets of them. So you have 6 2x4s or 2x6s that'll have the black plastic rubber runner on them so that it's not sitting on the wood, go up and down. And that's what you'll have sticking out. And I don't know if they can make it where they can pull them off or not, but it does make it much more usable. It makes so there's not a gap where the water's going to be. And I think from what you're describing, it would be great. I think it'll work for you. Here's what, instead of going to Shore Station, I'm going to recommend you go to the local dock builder, because they're going to be the ones that have the expertise in building that platform, which is, custom fit. There might be a quarter inch gap, a half inch gap, probably, maybe even an inch gap between the dock and that, depending on how sturdy your platform is. Is it a floating dock? Is it a fixed pier dock? Will kind of depend on what kind of variance you need there. But I think it would be a very nice addition. This image is even better. This is bunks for a bow rider, but the bunks for the pontoon, you'll have more of them. But the clearance will be a little bit different because you won't have that V-hull. So they can actually be a little bit closer to the platform like that. And you can see, what is that? Probably an inch gap, maybe a little bit more than an inch gap. And again, depending on the situation, and that will adjust how they do it. But you're starting to see those more and more. But I would talk to the boat or the dock builder. That's going to be the person that will be able to answer your questions, that reps Shore Station in your area. So I don't know if they've got a access to media, find a dealer. Sustainability, where are you? You're let's see. I don't know where you are. Tell me where you are. Welcome, Savvy. Good to have you. 248. Okay, I thought that's what it was. Well, I appreciate you stopping in, but you can put your zip code in, so 68137 in Nebraska. You know, it'll pop up all of the dock builders within a certain distance of where you are, and then you can see, all right, that dealer carries it. Beaver Lake Marina, where they're all over Beaver Lake in Omaha, where I grew up, and just plug that in, and then reach out to that dock builder and do it now, because dock builders are always have more business than they can handle. And some of them awesome, very professional, like any construction, right? Some of them are amazing, but you're going to pay for it. But they're craftsmen, they're detailed, they're organized, their scheduling is well done. And there's others that are good craftsmen or okay craftsmen, or have a crew that may be a little off, but they overbook themselves. They don't, they don't manage their finances well and rob Peter to pay Paul on some jobs. And they've got all these different things going on. So just make sure you check their reputation in your local community. But that is 400. I didn't mean to short. I'm shortchanging you again. I think I did that last time I tried to remember your horsepower. But if you talk to the dock builder that reps Shore Station, then I think all right. So let's put in that 60010. Um, all right. So Barrington. All right. So you've got what, six of them that popped up right there. Lighthouse Dock Lift, Skipper Buds. Skipper Buds is a great dealership that is in your area. Lake Area Marine, Complete Piers, Lake Holiday Marina, Boathouse. So the only one I know, and it looks like this is a preferred dealer. So that means they do a substantial amount of business with Shore Station. They'll be able to answer your questions. I would say, hey, tell me what docks have you built with this setup, with the platform setup on a pontoon? Send me pictures, or can I go check it out? And I would get on their books, and then I would also do, this is all right. Google them and say, all right, 123. Let me go so you can see that a little bit better. But 123 Google reviews for the Boathouse Lauderdale Lakes. If a lot of those are about purchase the Bennington, that might have been who you got your Bennington from. But so if they do a lot of docks, great. Let's say Complete Piers. Let's do that one, because we know they just do docks. I don't know if I spelled that right. Arlington. So, if you look at that, they don't have, it doesn't look like they have any reviews, not necessarily the kiss of death. Oh, there we go. All right. So 15 5-star reviews. A company like this, they're not going to actively go out and get reviews. They're not going to tell people, hey, give us a review. But, you read through them, prompt, professional, 6 months ago, 2 years ago, 2 years ago, and then talk to other people that live on your lake. And I think you'll get a pretty good sense of who a good option is, and then see what their availability is. And I think sustainability, I think if you can get somebody that's got a design eye, you know what you want. And hey, we want to entertain, we want that platform to be there when the boat's out, that there's still people hanging out at the dock. I really, really like that platform, and I've just started seeing them in the last, 3 years or so. And I think it's a really nice addition to your dock setup. So, all right, let's see here. I get the appeal of a lift, but always, yeah, it all depends. When you live on the water, you got to have a lift. You don't have to have a lift. Like somebody like Jerry, with a dancer or I'm sorry, a Regal, a cruiser, express cruiser. Okay, that it might be better leaving it in the water because now I can run my AC, and you can't run your AC when you're up on a lift. You'll overheat it and you'll be out of luck. So sometimes being in the water is okay, but when you live on the lake, especially when you live there, is you can leave that boat there year round potentially. We at the Lake of the Ozarks, we leave a 22-foot Tritoon and a 36-foot bow rider on the lifts. Winterize them on the lift, cover them up real good. Lock the lifts in with the pin so there's no chance they're going to float away. Tie them off just in case the lift does collapse or something. And we've done that since shoot 99. We did it with our crown lines. We did it with the pontoons. We've done it with the Envision, and it's nice. You come in, keeps the boats nice and clean. The bottom stays clean. The drives stay clean, and it's a pretty nice setup. Drove by the Solus factory today. Huge 42-foot molds. Yeah, that there are some. Come on. Let's see if that's a new. All right, so in October of 21, they revised their 42. So I wonder if they built another set of molds for that. Oh, come on. There we go. 31, 41. Yeah, those are some big old molds. I saw they had two runners that lift the deck and not the tubes. I saw they had two runners that lift from the deck. Okay, yeah. So you can certainly do that too. Because I mean, when you block up a pontoon, I mean, sometimes you'll just set it on 2x4s. You'll set 2x4s or 2x6s cross this way. And you can certainly do it that way as well. As a matter of fact, that wasn't a shore station. That was probably a poly lift, which is an air bladder, a hard plastic air bladder lift that goes up and down fill it up with water. It sinks, vacuum the water out, shoot it out a tube, and it floats. And that's friends of ours had it like that. Maybe that might have been 2x8s that ran this way. The boat came in here and the members went across this way, and then the tubes just sat straight on it because it's perfectly flat. On your Bennington, what you want to watch out for is that center tune set down a little bit. That was on a pontoon, but sometimes they'll set it down, which means now you got to have that adjustment to keep it level. But yeah, you don't need much space at all, just enough for those lifting strakes, which are maybe an inch, if that, that you don't damage those at all. So I think you're on the right track for what you're envisioning. Thank you very much, Savvy Cymbalin. I appreciate that. Definitely appreciate that. We'll find you. Bo, settle down. Settle down. Great to see a couple new names here tonight. Yeah, it is. It's always fun. And now that boat show season start, this is what I found. I mean, I don't remember when I started this, but I think it was like maybe October-ish. But it's interesting to see the cycle of the buyers come, they're asking buying questions, they buy their boat like 211, he just bought a Sea Fox, so he was here researching the Sea Fox. Now he's waiting for Bo to watch it heading out the parking lot and give him a heads up when it's on its way. It'll show up here in, I think he said March maybe. And hopefully you stay with us through the summer. Give us some updates on what you're learning, what you're struggling with, what's going on, the fun times you're having with it. And then the following year, you can be the resource. You can be answering questions like Brian and Jerry and Bo and Brock and everybody that and Ray that pitches in with, hey, this is what I learned in my first year. And it is, I really enjoy that. The seeing the new names come in, I'm like, all right, we got a new round of people that we're going to help educate. And then we've got the people that are in the midst of learning of boat ownership. And then we got the people that, okay, I've got a season or two under my belt, like Mark Phillips down in Austin, Texas. I had him on the podcast before he bought his Harris. And then like a year after he had owned it for a season. And I think that's really valuable information to people to hear, is coming from somebody not like me that has, learned it 20 years ago, maybe, or 10 years ago, or 40 years ago, but they've just gone through that experience recently, and they can give it from hey, I was just like you a couple of, even 6 months ago. And I think there's a lot of value to have those folks stay in and be part of the group. So I love it. I love it. Um, yeah, thank you for that 211. I appreciate that. What advice does anybody have to reduce backwash on a stern drive wake? When you're saying, Bo, tell me what you mean by backwash. Are you talking the wake that's going out, or are you talking you slow it down and you get the wash up over the swim platform? Um, tell me what you mean by that specifically, because for one, I have an answer. For the other, I don't know that I do, but trim level, hydrofoil. Yeah, tell me what you mean. Um, and I'll see if I can give you some thoughts on it, or maybe somebody else has some thoughts as well. I see a lot of people with shrink wrapped and winterized boats on their waterfront home lifts here. Yeah, it is. We don't even shrink wrap ours. When we bought the house, we got the lifts in right away. My dad and brother and my uncle, cousins, family, friends actually built our first dock, but we knew, hey, we're going to leave the boats on the lift. And what we did is we had a regular summer cover that is what we left on. And then we got nice, thick, heavy duty canvas covers that had good vents in it, that drawstring around, and that had grommets as well. That we, if you take the nylon rope, you can actually use the little splicers, and you can hook on a bungee cord onto the nylon rope. And so it's nyloned on there, and then you just have your hook on the bottom, so you're not scratching the gel coat or scratching the aluminum on the pontoon. And now you attach it down to, you can just do it to a handful of spots on the lift, up in the bow, a few midship, a few at the stern, and that keeps it nice and tight. We don't have to it was probably at the time, $2,000, $2,500 canvas cover, but it gets used every year. And if we're going to be gone from the lake for, nobody's going to be down there for a month, maybe, then you throw that on just to protect it from a bird, maybe trying to sneak in there, or a critter or something, and it drawstrings around nice and tight. Or the shrink wrap option is good too. If you can have the door to get in and out, you can put the vents in, you just redo it every year. So 68 Camaro, good to have you. Welcome. Can individuals buy shrink wrap and do it themselves? Yes, there is, um, Mr. Shrink wrap. One of the things I'm looking at doing is I'm trying to get set up to offer products. Here's what I would like to do is I have my just like I have my opinions on boat brands and things like that. I also have my opinions on what gear is best. And so I want to have the ability to have access to all of the vendors and say, "Hey, these are the fenders that I like. This is the right size for this size boat, for this style of boat. Here's the or here's the dock lines that you need. Here's the anchor setup that you need." And be able to say, "Hey, and I bundled them together. This is everything that you need for a new boater. Here's what you need. Just tell me, are you on a lake? Tell me what size boat you have, what kind of boat you have, and then I can package stuff up and say, this is what you need. Pick the things that you don't have and grab those, and then you know you're getting good stuff. You know you're getting the right thing. But 68 Camaro, this Mr. Shrink Wrap, he will sell um, he'll sell everything that you need. Um, and he's got it kind of packaged up so you can get the big sheets of wrap, the different layers, different widths of rolls and things like that. He even sells the um oh, interesting. Was not found. Okay. Say he I didn't realize he was offering the service as well. I'd only seen that he had been offering the wrap, but you can get the tape. He'll even sell the um propane guns that they use. That it's basically like a mini flamethrower, or a giant torch if you want to look at it that way. And then you quickly run it across that shrink wrap and it shrinks it and gets it to be nice and tight over your structure that you built, so all the snow and the rain runs off. But he used to have like a beginner's package that you could buy. It had everything but the propane. It had the big long wand with the gun on top that would shoot the flame out. You had the roll, you had the tape, you had the doors, you had the vents, all that stuff that you could get. And um and he's buying it somewhere and just packaging it all up. But he's got a really good video. Also, if you want to do it yourself, that's where I came across him. If you go to YouTube and search how to shrink wrap a boat, he's got a really good video as well on how to do it and do a good job, do it the right way. How much attention does the industry pay to Lake Powell, Lake Mead markets, unique boat brands? There are savvy. There's unique boat brands in every region of the country. So if you go down to the Gulf Coast in Texas, there's a bunch of flats type boats manufacturers down there. If you go into that market, you'll find some more jet boats, some more speed performance boats like you'll find on Havasu, you'll find on Lake Powell. You'll find on not as much on Lake Mead, I don't think, but you go up in the Northeast and you've got some trawlers. You got the Northeastern style of boat that you go up into the Northwest into Seattle, Alaska. You've got the aluminum boats, the heavy gauge aluminum, a lot of pilot houses that you can go out in the kind of rainy, drizzle, cold days out in the open water and do your whatever halibut fishing or whatever they do in that situation. In some of the areas, they've got the jet boats that run on the rivers, like the Colorado River, like some of the rivers up in the Northeast as well, the Pacific Northwest, where there's a lot of shallows and rocks, but they put jet drives on aluminum, really durable, rugged aluminum boats. And so you see that all over the place. And you do as well in those areas. So, and it's one reason in one of my videos I talk about. Let me see if I can find it. Um, Here it is. It's this video right here. Um, 5 key facts about the boating industry you didn't know. And there are so I look at it. Let me see if I'll try to show the slide. Here we go. So when you look at the manufacturers, crap. I hope I'm not having the same issue that I had last week. It wouldn't let me. We'll see if that comes up or if it's not gonna want me to do it this week. But essentially, what the slide shows is the number of auto manufacturers and the number of cars and light trucks sold within a year. I think this was 2020 when I did this video. And then it shows the number of boat manufacturers. And I stopped counting. Like I got to over 100 and I stopped. And I bet the number's closer to 200, if not more, in the number of boats sold. And it was like less than 50 auto manufacturers that I could come up with that sold, you know, 75 million light cars and trucks compared to 100 plus boat manufacturers that sold 250,000 boats. So it's so much more segmented. But that's because, and I talked about it in terms of that means they can't have the automation, that it's much more labor intensive and handcrafted, which is room for um, errors. It's room for mistakes. It's room for, cutting it wrong. Although they're using more CNC machines and jigs and stuff like that, they're getting a lot better than they did even 20 years ago. But it's just they're built different because of those dynamics. And one of the reasons is that it's very regional. You've got your Sea Rays and your Benningtons and your Sea Pros and, your big mass manufacturers, and they make up a lion's share of the units. But then you've got all of these regional manufacturers that are, hey, this is the style of boat that we need, and these are the options we need in this area. And you just there's only maybe it's a certain 10 lakes or 10 bodies of water that do it that way, or because of the conditions they do it that way, and it has an impact. All right, that's clearly not gonna do what I want it to do, but you get the concept. Go watch that video if you're interested. I think I really wish that video would have done better because I think it puts things in perspective for buyers. And so, oh yeah, West Marine's got them too. I didn't realize that they had the kits. I guess I don't look online at West Marine very often. I usually go every month or so when I go by West Marine. I always stop in and see what they got going on for the season. But um, contrast, I paid my marina 1,100 to shrink wrap my 28 cruiser with large entry zipper. Yeah, that especially on a cruiser, having that zipper to dunk in there and check it out. Go check down to your cabin is a nice addition. Um, and but for an extra $500, you don't have to worry about it, which is nice. And it depends. It's the old question in boating is, do I pay for it and not have to do it, or do I do it and save the money? Time, money, effort, skill, knowledge, know-how, all of that plays into, do you enjoy it? All of that plays into fact. But yeah, it is not an inexpensive thing to do. Um, but like I said, my brother did the canvas cover, which was, probably 2,000, 2,500 bucks on his Envision. The pontoon wasn't that much, but so 5 years you're reusing it. What it doesn't have is it doesn't have the access door. But when we put that one away, you put the dry rid in it. You make sure everything's all opened up and aired out as best you can, dry as possible in the boat, and all the gear taken out that needs to be taken out. And for we bought that place in 99, almost coming up on 25 years. We've never had an issue with the way we've done it in the canvas. Talking about the wake, the whitewash that curls over the waves for wakeboarding, I like to get that reduced. So it is. I don't know that you're going to be able to do it with the prop. Here's what I would do. I would play with the trim. I would play with the trim setting on your boat, and I would play with the weight distribution in your boat. So that's coming from the way the bottom of your boat's designed, and it's mostly the shape of the bottom of your hull. But if you adjust the weight distribution, maybe put a little bit more weight forward, maybe put a little bit more weight back. I don't know what it's going to do, but play with that and play with your trim setting. And what it's going to do for you, Bo, is your when you sink the back end down, it's going to change the characteristics of that wake. When you do this, it's going to change the characteristics of the wake with just straight up weight. So they call it ballast for, although you don't have tanks, you can do it with people. So you can move people back and forth. You can move, weight even if you want to do that. And then your trim, which is it's going to adjust it a little bit different because the hull is going to do different, but also the flow of the water from the prop wash is going to come out at a different angle as well. You're going to have to just trial and error it to figure out which way does best. The trim tabs, if you have trim tabs, that is another thing that can adjust the shape of the wake. I don't know if you have tabs on your boat or not, but they sell an aftermarket set for surf boats, which I don't know. I don't think you're surfing behind your boat, but it was, oh crap. I think I talk about it in my wake video that I did. Aftermarket surf. Here we go. Wake Maker, the Go Surf System. That's what it is. The Go Surf Assist, $5,000, and you have to install it. So that's one option. Probably not the best option, but you are mechanically inclined. So let me point you to this guy. Let me see if I can find it here. Homemade tabs. Let me see if this is the right guy. Come on. Gears and tech. Yes, this is him. Okay, so this video right here is, so what he does is he takes a Lenco trim tab system and he rigs it up. Now he's putting this on a surf boat. Crap, I'm not gonna, but ultimate DIY auto surf system, full install and testing. And Gears and Tech is the name of the channel. But go check that out. And the tabs have a pretty significant impact on the shape of the wake. It'll clean up the whitewater to a certain extent on a inboard boat, but because of the prop wash from the stern drive, it'll do it a little bit different because you've got more water shooting out that's coming back into the wake itself versus just on the inboards. The hull has a bigger impact, I would say, because that the prop is set further forward than a stern drive is. So check that out. I think you might find something of value there to help with that question. So, all right. We were lucky that most people just use their canvas covers. They don't use your round. Yeah, that when you're down south, Brock's in Charleston. So when you're down south, there's Brock, I don't know if he was out this weekend, but last Sunday he was out on his bass boats. I don't know when the last time you've taken your Sportsman out, but yeah, it's nothing to have a 70, 80 degree day in, in November, December, maybe January or February to get into the 70s for sure. 80s might be February, early March, but you're like, hey, let's get out. Let's go out for a cruise. And you'll see it on the inland lakes here. You'll see it at the coast for sure. And so as you get south and as you get towards the coast, the way they approach it is different as well. Again, that regionality of it, the weather, the style of boats, the types of water, what you can do and what you can't do, all of that comes into play. From another reason why I like the diverse group of folks we have in this community is because there are some things that I did a video on for my U.S. Boat Expo that I gave away last year. I interviewed a bunch of experts throughout the boating community. Some of them, I interviewed my brother who had a boat partnership. So him and my cousin bought their first two boats together, and he talked about the advantages and the downfalls, and in his opinion, what to look out for. But I interviewed a master certified tech up in Ipswich, Massachusetts, just because he has a different boating experience boating up there in the Northeast coast than I do with my inland boating and some of the coastal boating down here in the Carolinas. There's 80% of it's the same. It's boating, but 20% of it is, he was saying things like, oh crap, I never even thought about that. And, they've got the salt environment. They've got hard winter freezes. They've got different water access where it's a different environment, which was kind of interesting. You can go, all of those videos are up. If you just search US Boat Expo on the channel, I put all those videos up on the channel for people. We interviewed the president of CETO about some safety stuff and what they're doing. It was a pretty, I thought it was pretty good information. What do they do with all that shrink wrap in the spring? Yes, the marinas, what they'll do is they'll have a pile where they say, okay, when you're decommissioning or you're recommissioning your boat, and getting it ready for summer, you'll cut out all your doors and save those. You can reuse the doors and some of the vents. You can reuse those at times. Cut all those out. Cut out all of the string if you've got any drawstring or anything like that, or ratchets if you're using that type of system, and then put the shrink wrap here, and they recycle it. But yeah, it's a ton of plastic every year that goes into that. I don't know, Jerry. Well, let me say this about recycling in general. Just because they collect it as recycling doesn't mean it gets recycled. That I tell my wife that all the time. I'm like, listen, we can put the recycle bin out there and you can sort everything, but I promise you that they're just dumping it all in the same landfill because China stopped buying our trash because they couldn't make the recycling program work economically. I don't know how accurate of a statement that is, but I believe that's the case when you look at the bulk of trash that we produce and the amount of it that gets recycled. And so that may be the case, but I do know marinas will gather it up and put it in a special recycling pile. what comes of it after it goes from that pile to whoever picks it up, that I don't know. So Ray says my Bennington 22 concrete floor warehouse winterized, all oil change, 1,500 per year. Yeah, that in the Midwest, we've got a lot more space. There's a lot more outbuildings that you can put them in because land is plentiful. But you get on the East Coast, especially the Northeast up in Annapolis. I mean, I bet there are people that had a hard time even finding a spot for their boat, let alone somewhere that's indoors. Like, hey, I don't even have a place to put it. And so down south, it's a little bit better because a lot more boats get left in the water. I've been seeing in my local boating area, Lake Norman specifically, a storage lot is going out of business. I'm assuming they're selling the land because land around here is super valuable that, they're going to cash out. And instead of being a storage lot, they were going to sell it to a developer to do whatever. And now there's, 50, 75 boaters that are looking for a place for their boat. Because Charlotte has grown as much as it is, especially around the Lake Norman area, it's really difficult to find a on water slip, dry storage, and even a gravel parking lot is a challenge to be near the lake. If you go further away, it's easier, but there is advantages in the Midwest when it comes to more accessible land. Like at the Lake of the Ozarks, we have friends of ours that will put their boat on a trailer, and we've got a carport, but we've also got a decent amount of parking area. And they'll park their jet skis there. One boat will go under the carport because we don't go there much in the wintertime, and we park up top when we do. And it's just like, yeah, put it there. You're a friend, and land is a lot more accessible. Winterization was extra top of shrink wrap plus, so that 1100 is just the shrink wrap, and yeah, the the boating is expensive. It's in certain areas. I did my video on boat storage, and I said, the dry slips around here and the wet slips are, you know, 2,500 to 3, maybe 4 grand, depending on where you're at, if you're covered, how big your slip is. And so he's like, man, in South Florida, he's like, you can't get a slip for less than $1,000 a month. So, they're 12 grand for just a wet slip with no lift. And yeah, every area is different. South Florida can get expensive in a lot of areas. Annapolis can get expensive. You talk about the West Coast, San Francisco, some of the areas out there that can get even more. uh Sammy, welcome. What's the value of a MC30? I don't know if that's Mastercraft. No, MC30 with the 70 Yamaha. I have no idea. But Sammy, here's how you find out. Here's how you get an idea of what the value of your boat is. And since I don't know what that boat is, MC30 with 70 Yamaha two-stroke. So, um, let's go 2000 MC30. All right, so a catamaran. Let's do. All right, so I'm not finding this boat, which makes catamaran. Let me see, Sammy. Tell me if this is the boat that you're talking about. This one right here, um, sold catamaran, 65,000. Let's see if there's a date in Maryland with the 90 Evinrude E-Tech. Um, so a boat like that is going to be a very small production run. I don't know the catamarans. I don't know, especially the power catamarans. I don't have a ton of experience with those. But if I was looking, what I would do is I would go to NADA guides. I would also go to Boat Trader and look there, but it didn't come up for Boat Trader. Go to NADA guides, put in, go to the boat section. Let me go big here so you can see it. Boats. Okay. And we're going to go to power boats. Well, we are not there. There we go. M. Let's see if we can find MC. And again, like I said, there is a huge number of boat manufacturers. You can see scrolling through. Now, this is 1,896 manufacturers that make up the boat list. Now, that is boats that are, they've got Matrix Marine Inc. in Minnesota. As boat manufacturers get bought and sold, sometimes they change their names slightly, and they'll all be listed in there multiple times. This is boat manufacturers that have been out of business for 20 years are on here, but you can see how segmented. If you looked at car manufacturers that have been for the last 50 years, there certainly aren't going to be almost 2,000 of them. I assure you of that. All right. So the MC, I'm not seeing it in here. Let me see how they sold bond yachts. Let's see if it's under that. Yeah. Bond yachts isn't even coming up. Um, yeah. So it's, I have no idea. If it's not coming up there, it's not. You've got this data point from the catamaran company, 69,000 or 65,000. That very well may be the retail price of that boat. I don't know. I can't imagine that boat in the last 5 years sold for $65,000. With a 90 E-Tech, a '05 90 E-Tech, that doesn't seem like it would be correct. So I don't, Sammy, I wish I had an answer for you, but the the places that I would look don't show any data. If Boat Trader doesn't even have them as a manufacturer, maybe they're listed under a different name somehow. But the other place that you could look is go to a broker and ask them to pull up. It's called Sold Boats. Boat Trader has a repository. Think of it like the MLS listing for real estate. So everybody lists their boats there. That's what Boat Trader, Yacht World do. And then a select group of dealers and brokers then report their sales prices back in a system, and they put this in what's called sold boats. So you can go back and search a particular brand, a particular style of boat, and it will show you all of the sales that have been reported to them in like the MLS of boats. And it'll tell you the list price, it'll tell the sales price. It doesn't always do a good job of the condition of the boat matters a ton. But it will have some of that information. Some dealers do a better job and brokers do a better job of reporting that data. Maybe you'll get lucky and there's been one that's sold in the last couple of years that would be in there. But other than that, it's, you got to find somebody that's looking for a boat like that and see what they would give you. I think that's the best you can do. If somebody else has um, an idea that it's why when I talked about in the wake boat video, there were a couple new manufacturers, a couple niche manufacturers that I said they're regional. I said, be careful investing in these boats because the resale value is going to be challenging because if you move parts of the country, MB boats in the West Coast is reasonably well known. Sanger is reasonably well known on the West Coast. You come to the East Coast and people aren't going to know it and they're going to be hesitant. There's not going to be any sales comparisons to look for around here. They will be in NADA guides, but you get some of those really small production boats, and after 10 years, they built 50 boats, and there's no data to go by onto what the value should be. It can be a challenge. I don't have tabs. Was thinking about it though. No surfing. It's stern drive. Good thinking. Surf tabs need to be wired. Um, yeah, it's essentially surf tabs are just shaped different and they're wider. Um, There but the technology is exactly the same. There's a hydraulic, actuator that's gonna move them up and down flat with the transom, with the running surface, I should say. They're level with that, but then the wire is gonna run up to the helm, and you can manually adjust it from there. So it's the same concept of putting the trim tabs on a boat, um, but the surf tabs are just a little bit different, and that's what that video is I showed you. It's the guy making the adjustments to just a Lenco trim tab system, and I showed it was like $4,500 at the Go Surf system compared to you can buy the Lenco trim tabs for $600. It comes with everything that you need to do it, and and so you get essentially the same system. He did some modifications because the adjustment or the shape of the tab and the size is what really makes a difference when you're manipulating the wave itself. But I think you get the idea. What's the best way to sell a used 18-foot Express 190? Um, I would say, tell me, Michael, tell me what year. Welcome, Michael. That's a name I don't remember, I don't recognize, but depending on the year, uh, here's what I'll say. Put in the year, and I'll try to get it. But all right, it is the older the boat. So the if it's, I'll say the older and the less expensive the boat is. I'm going to go to Craigslist. Craigslist is an outstanding place to sell a boat yourself. The lower the price is, the better place it is to sell it. Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace is an outstanding place to sell a boat on your own. You can put the boat out there. You can share it into groups. So, Michael, I would say, let's say you're in my area. Okay, so I would list it on Facebook Marketplace, and then I would put it in the Lake Wiley boating page and the Lake Norman boating page and the Lake Watery boating page, and maybe I would even go down to, an hour away and put it down there in the boating pages around the lake in Columbia. Um, maybe I would even go to Joe Cassie and to Kiwi and put them in the boating community pages there. Maybe I would go to the Facebook aluminum fishing boat page or the walleye fishing page, if depending on what model Express it is. Think about where are the people that would buy it. Then the next place, the more expensive it is, then it may be worth putting it on Boat Trader because they have the biggest reach right now for boats for sale. Now, typically, they're going to be a little bit higher end, a little bit more expensive is going to be their traffic that they're targeting. But somebody buying a 5, 7, maybe even a 10-year-old Express, they're going to be going to Boat Trader too. And so that would be the progression: Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, Facebook groups, and then Boat Trader. Boat Trader is going to cost you, I don't know what they are right now for a boat listing. Um, I don't know if they're going to have pricing, but it's going to be $100 somewhere around there, and it's worth it. They get a ton of traffic. They're going to try to upsell you bigger pictures, more pictures. I'll tell you, do a video of the boat, talk about, this trolling motor's coming with it. It's got this gear. It's got this many hours on it. Pull the cowling off the engine, like really show the boat. And that's going to help people that might be a 3-hour drive from you. They're like, I'm not going to trust that this guy's being honest and upfront. I'm not going to waste my money and my gas and my time to go and check out this boat that's probably going to be he's probably lying about everything and it's going to be a junk pile. I've already seen that happen locally. I'm not going to, but you do a video of it and you do a bunch of pictures, you do really good pictures, you write a really complete description of it. Now that person is going to say, "Oh, maybe I will inquire about it. Maybe I will make the drive up." And because I know, and Michael seems like a good, honest guy. He seems like a nice person that I can trust, and that's also a helpful way to sell a used boat. So, Sportsman hasn't moved in a Sportsman hasn't moved in a few months. Oh, the Sportsman hasn't moved in a few months. I was like, Ranger's been out at least twice a month since December. No tournament this week. Few of us went out yesterday. Today was a washout. Yeah, that's it's the advantage. It's the advantage to living down south. If you don't mind a chilly boat ride, you can go out year round, no problem. And then there's the perfect days that pop up in the middle of winter and makes you glad you live where you do. Martin, welcome. Looking at a '01 Maxim 29 454 Bravo 2, 1,300 hours, triple axle trailer. Everything looks good. Waiting on warmer weather, dewinterized. Take for a sea trial. Yeah, I would ask for the service records. That's quite a few hours on that boat. The Bravo, is it the Bravo 2 or the Bravo 3? Um, Bravo 2, the 454. Um, so it's got the heavier. If it's truly is the Bravo 2, the Bravo Drive has the bigger gear case. And in 01, okay, yeah, that might be it. In '01, that's probably more common. They were just realizing the Alpha wasn't up to the challenge of pushing the big heavy cruisers. They came out with the heavier gear case to take that load, and then they came out. I don't know when they came out with the Bravo 3. When did Bravo 3? Cruiser was in 95. Um, okay. So they were out there then, but um, on the Maxim was Brunswick's mid-tier boat to compete. They had Sea Ray for the premium, they had Bayliner for the value, and they created Maxim to kind of fill in that gap in the middle. But what happened is Sea Ray started building sport boats and scaling them back in some of their options so they could get more market share for the more entry level buyers. Bayliner started adding more features so they could get more of the mid-tier buyers. And what happened is Sea Ray and Bayliner took that whole market share. And then there was, as the recession hit, the slowdown came, there just didn't make sense to maintain a brand that was almost being fulfilled by Bayliner and Sea Ray, and Maxim kind of got squeezed out because they didn't stay in their lane. And they built a really nice boat. They did a good job, but they kind of got squeezed out. And then when the slowdown came, they closed that brand down. I would do a good compression check. Martin, ask if they've got the service records, and make sure that you run that boat good and hard. Check for leaks. Anything that doesn't feel right, that boat it's gonna need some TLC over the next several hundred hours. I don't know what it's gonna be, but unless they've replaced a lot of things and done the 1,000-hour maintenance, that just realize that there is gonna be some I'll call it maintenance because it's stuff that just needs to be done. But as you hit that 1,000-hour mark, there's a lot of things that need to be addressed that maybe some people don't. So you want to find out what they did, what they didn't do. You want to find out what Mercruiser recommends. And then you want to have a good technician, or Martin, if you are mechanically inclined, dive into that 454, dive into that Bravo 2 drive, and check that gear lube, make sure there's no metal shavings in there. that it should be okay, but that's a heavier boat for that drive to push. Remember, it's got the heavier duty gears, which is good. If it was an alpha drive, I'd be even more concerned about that. And then just make sure that looking for leaks, looking for all those little ticky tacky things that can add up. And as you get with an older, more used engine. So, and Martin, I don't want to scare you away from that boat at all. I want to be realistic and give you things to look out for so that come this summer, you're having a great time on the boat that you buy and you're not like, son of a bitch, this is awful. I hate this. Everything's breaking down. I'm having all sorts of issues. But I'm glad it's on a triple axle trailer too. That is a good thing. Don't forget to check the tires. Check the age of them, check for wear, cracks, dry rot, all that kind of stuff. Savvy, I'm planning on attending the Miami Boat Show February. Any tips for a first timer? Savvy, I have not been to the Miami Boat Show. From knowing people that have been, it's huge. Have a game plan. We'll call it the logistics they've gotten better. They changed venues and they had some permitting issues with the city of Miami, getting access to the marinas. It's the last, let's say 5 years of it have been sort of more chaotic than normal, with new construction, with permit issues, with the size of it, with the pandemic. I'll recommend that you go and listen to this podcast, Lake Life with Molly and Chad, Miami Boat Show. All right, so Molly and Chad they were on my podcast. I invited them on my podcast. They were a great couple. They are up in Kentucky, Lake Cumberland. They've got a Tritoon and they've got a surf boat. They've got a Heyday surf boat. And last year they went to the Miami show for the first time and they did a podcast episode while they were there and about their experience. And so they will have some tips for you. Lake Life with Molly and Chad. I think they're on Spotify, Apple, everywhere you get your podcasts. And super nice couple, very fun, very outgoing, I'll say more entertaining than I am. They've got a lot more personality than I do, I would say. And they work good back and forth. They bring in some guests. It's a fun podcast and fun, knowledgeable people that have kind of a similar concept to me is just, hey, share some good information. Make sure people don't make the dumb mistakes that can ruin a season, that can, ruin a life, that can ruin a day. And, give tips from making sandwiches and snacks on the boat to etiquette. They do a good job. So check them out. I think you'll find some good information there. They were never recycling it. They were always dumping it in the Pacific. I hope not. How big are the Mercruisers? Oh yeah, that's a great one. Are they salt? Are they salt engines? 1,300 hours on a saltwater boat is much more worrisome than 1,300 hours on a freshwater boat. Although, hopefully you've watched my video on, let's see. Oh, there we go. So this video here is Martin, tips for buying an older boat. Make sure you watch that one. I talk about in pleasure boating. Now, I assume an 01 with 1,300 hours is a pleasure boat. That the useful life of the engine is 1,000 to 1,500 hours. So you're within that window of, hey, expect a lot of things to go wrong and to be budget for it. Try to, maybe they've already gone wrong and this guy has fixed it. See, that's why I asked about maintenance records. But, you know, there are, with an older boat like that, there are things that you've got to consider that, more than just the looks great. Well, is the floor solid? Are the stringers solid? Are the motor mount solid? The stern, the drive, is that in good condition? The All of that kind of stuff, and the compression of the engine, all of those things start adding up. And it's, if the engine goes out, I don't know if that's got twins or not, but the 454, you're looking at 10 grand plus to replace that engine on a boat that might be worth, I don't know what that 29 is, but, might be worth 25 grand. And I'm just ballparking on that price. I don't have any idea, but 2001 Maxim 2900 in ADA. So yeah, average retail, and this, I'm not putting in, the 454 is probably an upgrade. So you've got the boat's worth, let's say 20 grand. And if you have an engine issue, now you're 10 grand of repairs for a 20 grand boat. Now that's a 30 grand boat that's worth 20 grand. Those are the types of things when you're buying an older boat that you want to think about, not buy an older boat, because they can be great values and this boat could have a ton of life left in it. But there's other boats out there too. So if you walk away from this one, or maybe you're getting a smoking deal on her, or maybe it's a friend that's giving it to you, who knows? But think about all those things and check out that video. Tips for buying an older boat. I think you'll find some value in it. Might splash the Sportsman next Saturday. Redfish tournament out of Charleston. Um, Hey, Brock, I need to give you a call. If you are up for it, I need to do some video shooting on a center console. Part of it is just sitting at the dock, or using it as a resource. So if you would be up for partnering up and doing that, and I need to give you a call when I know what my schedule looks like. Next weekend I'm free. The following weekend, I have decided to do the Charlotte Boat Show, and offer my toolkit and my the boot camp, and then offer the best boat captain program, and just see, get to talk to some customers, get to meet some people locally. And so if anybody's going to the Charlotte Boat Show, I will be there. I have been putting all my stuff together and trying to figure out what my game plan is going to be, um, and spending the money. I talked to Les that puts it on the other day, and got my booth locked in with the paid that fee. And so I'm looking forward to it. But I will, if you're up for it, I'll be in touch about that. Haven't decided if I'm going to fish or not. Fees like 350, 400. Payouts pretty nice. If you got to find the reds, difficult to do. I'm curious, how much different is it fishing freshwater fish and versus, fishing inland saltwater fish? I would have to imagine it's somewhat different. But maybe they like the same type of structures and things like that. Um, every um, that's curious. What's the best way to sell my boat? 20. All right. So let's look at, again. Did JD Power buy NADA guides? Is that what's happening here? Because that looks like, or maybe they're just pulling their data in. Okay, yeah, JD Power, they must have bought them. Interesting. I didn't realize that had happened. All right, so if you look, and this is what I was trying to do with Express won't be in there. Well, don't tell me Express isn't. Well, that is really interesting. Who owns Express? This is another thing that you gotta sometimes. Is that Veranda? I think does Veranda own it? No, Veranda doesn't own Express. They own Luma Weld maybe. Hot Springs, Arkansas. Yeah, Luma Crest. All right, this is sorry about that. I'm scratching a personal curiosity here. Express, somebody owns them. That I thought somebody owned them. Little Springs, Arkansas is where that's where Veranda is built, and there is all no, not All Weld, Illuma Weld. That's not who it is. Crap. Who owns Express Boats? Okay, it's just okay. It is Veranda. All right, so this is sometimes it can be difficult. Veranda, that this may give us the Express. 2005. Okay, no, it's not going to do it. Huh. All right, so it's listed under a different name. I can't think of what it would be. Um, but anyway, that's what you would do to find the value. Just go do your research. And yeah, Craigslist for that boat, Craigslist is going to be a great option. Facebook Marketplace is going to be another great option. And then all of the within a reasonable driving distance of where you're located, boating, fishing communities is where you'll sell that boat for sure. Boat shows can be overwhelming. Prioritize what you want to see first. Yeah, Boater Tom, have you been to Miami? Boater Tom's is near Orlando. Very easy to get distracted. Just yeah, especially there, especially at Miami, where you're gonna see 100-meter yachts sitting there, and you're like, oh damn, I got to go there. If you're going just for fun and entertainment, then the plan isn't as important. If you're going there truly to research for a boat that you're going to buy, having a really good idea, and I recommend if you're serious about it, you're not just going sheerly for the entertainment of it, is get the access pass. It's going to be multiple days. I think they sell by the day tickets, and also just from people I know that have gone, um, parking is horrendous. So if you can park and use the water taxi to get across the causeway or whatever they call it down there, it's a cool experience. You're on a boat with a bunch of boaters and you're seeing all of these, you're rolling up to the docks with just beautiful yachts everywhere. It's a cool experience, and it also is easier logistically than trying to park and then taking the shuttle in. So I would look into that as well. That's from a few boat dealers I know that have worked the show, and that's what they do because it's so much easier. Okay, thank you. Wouldn't have had the mod to function without the surf helm. Yeah, you can just they give you the buttons, the two buttons to control it. Why is Mercury entering the electric outboard market with such a low horsepower? What's their strategy? Big horsepower is not ready for it yet. Here's my I don't know. This is strictly opinion. I did my video on um when I ran the eVision Marine Technologies 180 horsepower outboard. Um, electric. All right, so this video here When will electric boats take over the boating industry? I had this conversation with my aunt today. She was in from my wife's aunt, and her and her boyfriend were in from West Virginia, and she asked. We were talking about boats, and she asked about electric boats. I'm like, yeah, they're out there. I said I don't think it's the right fit. I don't think the technology is there. The battery power is there, but there's a lot of money being invested in it. GM just put millions and millions of dollars into Pure. What is it? Pure something electric pontoon company. You've got the SpaceX guys up Candela in uh, Canada. You've got a bunch of European companies. eVision Marine is a European Canadian company that is partnered with who do they partner with? McLaren, maybe. But anyway, so here's my thought. The power density of the batteries isn't enough to support these big horsepowers running any distance or any time at higher RPM. It's just, you can run it for 2 hours, maybe if you're lucky, at any sustained RPM range. So where the opportunity is in my mind is like what Torqeedo has been doing. If you're familiar with Torqeedo, oh, didn't spell that right. But Torqeedo has built electric outboards, these little tiny, these little tiny, we'll call them kicker type motors. Yeah, I don't know what their biggest horsepower is, but um, they've got their pod drives, which I think is probably the most interesting use because the water will naturally cool the electric engine that's down here in the pod. I think that is a cool technology. That in conjunction with hydrofoil, maybe something's there that would really change the way some people boat and in some markets. And um, but it's so different that I think it's really going to be hard to check on. But that interests me. That's like, okay, I think that's cool, and there's something there. But when you're talking about, let's see, their 80 horsepower is their biggest, and they've been doing it for 25, 50. I think there are more applications that Mercury sees and says, listen, we know the boating world. We are not jumping on this bandwagon as somebody that says there's capital out there. There's investors out there that want to invest in green technology, and there's government subsidies, and it's the in thing to do right now. Yes, there may be advantages to it. There's certainly a lot of downfalls with the rare earth minerals that they use to create the batteries. Let's put that all aside. When you understand the boating market and you understand the limitations of electric currently as it sits, and the huge leaps that it needs to make in density of power and the weight of these battery packs, it it is much more likely that we can make this work with smaller, lighter boats that are usually on smaller bodies of water, that are usually traveling shorter distances, that don't take as much power because they don't need as much force. They don't need as much energy to move a small aluminum boat, to move a smaller boat that's just going to go at slower speeds, like a 50 and a 90, or what was it? 80 was the biggest horsepower I saw there. Yeah, the 40 to 80 horsepower in this Deep Blue series. So if I'm pushing this inflatable, this rib, that doesn't take as much as if I'm trying to push a big old fiberglass boat, or a big old 22-foot pontoon, is what that eVision Marine Technology 180 horsepower was on. And it was great. It performed really, really well. But every time they got back to the dock, the first thing they did after they got that first line on was, here's this big extension cord, plug that baby in. It doesn't have the range at RPMs, at higher RPMs, because of the density of the power. And my gut tells me that Mercury sees that, and Mercury says, there might be a market for this. We can't be totally left out if it does change, if there are EPA restrictions across the globe. Who knows what's going to happen depending on what administration's in charge, what beliefs get kind of into the policy. Who knows what's going to happen? We better at least pay some attention. But they know Torpedo has been um, has been in business for, I want to say, 15 years, and they started with basically little trolling motors, and they're not huge. I don't know how many drives that they. Let's go. When did they start? 2005. Okay. So they've been in business for, what is that, 18 years? And they started with electric trolling motors, and essentially, and they have added a little bit here, a little bit there, and they're only up to 80 horsepower because the market doesn't want them in the bigger horsepower. You look at the boat sales numbers, and there were less than 270 electric boats sold out of the 250,000. It's a new technology. There's a lot of emerging markets, and there's a hockey stick and all that stuff. But the reality of the situation not the reality, my belief of the situation is it's not the right technology for our environment of boating, um, outside of smaller boats. Um, if you put government restrictions, if you put policy in place, that changes everything, and it throws a whole wrench in the current propulsion market in the boating industry. And Mercury doesn't want to be totally left behind and not know anything about the technology. If they're at least active in it in an area where they can sell some, and recoup some of the R&D costs, then they can buy somebody has done something really, really good. And that's just totally me on the top of my head. I did that research. I dove deep 2 years ago, but I've never considered why Mercury is entering the way they are. But that would be my gut reaction. Um, and in North Texas. Okay, so yeah, so I would go all of the North Texas fishing communities. The Dallas, Fort Worth. What's your lake there? Um, uh, I've got a buddy that's in Frisco, or a cousin that's in Frisco. Whatever the lake is, that's right there. Put them in all of those communities, join them, put it in there, put a price. Most of them will want a price. Fishing boats for sale, put it all over the place. Do a good video, do a good picture, and you'll sell it. Yep, sold a sailboat Facebook Marketplace last year. Yeah, it is chasing serenity. It is, if you have the inclination to do it, you can certainly sell a boat yourself. Now, you might have to deal with some tire kickers. You might have to deal with some people that say they're going to show up and they ghost you. They never show up. But you're gonna sell it for more, put more money, not sell it for more. You're gonna put more money in your pocket if you do it yourself than trading it in, than using a broker, which a broker probably wouldn't even touch that express for sure. They usually have a, $2,000, $3,000 minimum, and that just wouldn't work with that boat. Saint, I'm assuming it's because they don't want to make the switch so fast. So many new models can't even sell fishing boats. Yeah, you're exactly right. Is why would we go headlong in a product that, as boaters, and I think there's huge advantages to boat companies that have boaters in leadership positions. I see um, some of this going on at Brunswick, where they're bringing in people from outside industries that may have boating, may be boaters, but they're bringing in great business sense. And this has happened with brands throughout the decades, but they bring in great business sense, but terrible boating sense. And because of that, they make bad decisions for boaters, and boaters like, we don't want that. I think Mercury has enough boating knowledge in their leadership still that and that Brunswick is allowing them to go that direction, but still get in the market. But in some of the other brands, they've got a lot of business knowledge, and you're seeing some that like Rob Parmentier that came up his way through Sea Ray. He started on the factory floor sweeping, and then for he was CEO for a number of years, and did, I think, an outstanding job with the company. I met him, and when I was selling, he was the president of Sea Ray, was still within Brunswick Corporation, but they made the change because he was, I don't think he had the polish that they were looking for. He was a very direct, he built boats. He knew what he was doing, and some of that knowledge, when it leaves the company, they make bad decisions. I think Mercury's on the right track. Um, yeah, Bo, I'm with you 100%. I'm with you 100% on your thought process there. Thank you for your help. Been following your channel for a while now. I appreciate it. All right, so I wanted to show this because I'm going to ask a favor from some of you guys that are still here. Um, so I got this email. Come on, my computer is, I got to start cleaning out some stuff. So this is an email that I got. I don't know exactly who this guy is. I've got an inkling of who he is. But I got this email that said, it's from Ron, last name, fuck you, email haha at Yahoo, message scam. Now, because I do some advertising on Facebook, and I give away my free boater boot camp. It's some of you guys may have taken it or been through it, or at least heard me talk about it. But it's a 3-part video series for newer boaters. So the first video is all about boat systems. So the importance of a bilge pump, the importance of blowers, how the trim works, how to start your boat, the engine kill switch, the safety lanyard, and all that, the navigation lights, the fuel water separator. So all the stuff, gear lube, engine oil, all that type of stuff. And then the next one, we talk about rules of the road and navigation and boating apps and charts and some of the basics of operating your boat on the water. The third one is all about emergencies and safety, what gear you need, what happens if there's a fire, how to use a fire extinguisher, how to use a VHF radio, and so it's totally free. It's about an hour, 2 hours worth of content. It's not beautiful footage. It's, the production quality is low, but the information is what I think a lot of boaters don't know that costs them, get in trouble. And I give it away for free. But I do say, after you get it, I say, hey, if you want to upgrade and you want to pay me for how to drive a boat course, you can get a special discount. And this guy he had a hard time logging in. I'm assuming he's a little bit older. And then he unsubscribed. So now he can't get access to anything the way my system is set up. And then I got this from him. So if anybody on this on this live has gone through the boot camp, taken a program, or has something good to say, that I'm a reasonable guy. I'm try to be as honest as I am, and try not to scam anybody. It's legit. I do give away real information. If it's for free, it's for free. I do try to make some money. I do try to run this as a business, and I do try to sell you things. Even on this live, I give as much value as I can, but you still got to see this up there. You got to see the scroll. I talk about my programs and all that, and I try to help people and make money. But if you would, to help people like this that are so skeptical that I'm trying to rip them off because I'm a internet guy that they've never met before, that's doing something a little weird, asking for their email address and selling them something. If you would go to Facebook and leave a review, or go on to Google and leave a review, I would really, really appreciate it. Let them know that, hey, the Boater Bootcamp is free. I went through it and it was super valuable. Or I've been on these lives for a year, and he's a nice guy. He's trying to be helpful. He's he will try to sell you stuff, whatever you think. It would be super helpful. But this it makes me laugh, but it's also frustrating knowing that I'm not a scammer, and that it's difficult for me to help you if you can't figure out the technology of logging in and stuff. And anyway, I wanted to show that and ask for your help if you would. I'd super appreciate it. So okay. All right. Let's see here. Martin, 30,000, 23 for the boat, 7K for the trailer. Um, Captain log since new. Yeah, that's all great. And I would say, Martin, the same thing for you. I don't have any idea where you would start, but put it on Craigslist, put it on Facebook Marketplace, put it for the 30,000 or the 37,000 with the trailer. That trailer I know is going to be expensive and is going to be difficult to find a cat trailer to fit that boat, I would imagine. But start at that high number and then, ratchet it down 500, 750, 1,000 bucks at a time. And when you hit the right price, the phone will start ringing. In the case with this boat, it is unique. Somebody is going to be flipping out to find that boat and being in love. 90% of the people are going to be like, nope, wouldn't even consider it no matter what the price is. So you have to be patient with a boat like this, and you're going to have to figure out what the market is going to entail. And because if you can't find it on NADA, it might be difficult for them to get a loan. It's a 20-year-old boat almost. So just you might have to find a cash buyer as well. But the good thing about boats is somebody always wants to buy the boat you have, whether it's a project boat, whether it's a unique boat. It's just a matter of what can you get for it. So I want a Campion A20. Have you heard if they're going to manufacture in Texas? Would it be safe if they are going to manufacture in Texas? So Campion, if it's the brand I'm thinking of, is a Canadian dealer, and I think the A20 is them. Campion A20. So they're a Canadian builder. They've been around for a long, long time. But they're much more, Jeff, much more well known in Canada, and there are a handful of markets in the US that they sold here in my market for a number of years. The dealer just couldn't sell them because nobody knew about them. Nobody knew the brand, and like I said, the resale value will be harder. So you're in Texas, so let's go. This is what I like to do if there's a brand that you're like, okay, what's what's the recognition of this brand in my marketplace? Um, so what you would do is, I don't want to sell my boat. I got to figure. I restarted my computer and everything tonight so that I didn't have to have this problem. But I'll talk you through it. What I would do is, I would go to Boat Trader, I would go to Campion, and I would search a 200-mile radius of Texas, wherever you are, Dallas, Houston, wherever, and I would search a radius and see that. Um, you know, buying a 2022, I don't have a problem with it, and it's fine. Campion builds a value, maybe lower mid tier boat. They do a decent job of the boats that they build. It's a matter of when you go to sell it, and maybe you're going to keep the boat for 15, 20 years and it's not as big a deal. But when you go to sell it, it's going to be more difficult to sell that Campion than it is to sell let's say a Bayliner, or in your area to sell maybe a Stingray. I don't know what's in Texas. That would be a more Texas regional boat. The Texas boats are mainly flats boats and skiffs and things like that. But so you go Campion, and I don't know what a zip code is there, but we'll say, well, so that tells us right there, there is not a there is not a Campion for sale in Texas on Boat Trader. Um, so yeah, yeah, it is. It is something to consider. As far as the enjoyment of the boat, you will have a good experience just like you would if you bought any other lower mid-tier or value boat. Maybe I'd say lower mid-tier. By that level of boat, your experience, if the dealer is good, you're going to have a fine experience. My gut tells me is they don't sell very many of these because, or they just picked them up for, I doubt if they just picked them up because it's a 2022. Um, my gut tells me, Jeff, this is just my experience, is they're a smaller dealer. They needed a bow rider. Maybe they had Glastron and they lost that, or maybe they just started selling boats. But my gut tells me they're probably a smaller dealer and don't sell very many of them. They only have a couple on the lot. That's why they've got the 2022. They're trying to bring a couple 2023s in. Again, it's not the boat. It is, if you go to sell this in 2 years, you're gonna take a bigger hit than if you bought a more well-known brand in your market area. So use that how you want. That's my opinion on the situation. So I will leave that with you. Um, gonna call it a night. Jerry, thanks for joining us. Oh crap, we're at an hour and 42 minutes. All right, Brock, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right, we've got to call this quits. Um, I appreciate you guys sticking with us. Saltwater is much harder this time of year. Fish will school up, move together, back of the creeks at low tide, be all the deep water, dock structures, high tide. Um, most of the time, bass in the winter are either suspended, much more comfortable. Yes, I would say with your success in the bass tournaments that you've told us about, it's probably a wiser investment. A lot of guides, saltwater side, enter these tournaments and blow everyone away. Yeah, when you're doing that, you just you know what they're doing the day before, and you know what they've been doing over time. High performance, 25-foot tri-tune, 300. That's rated 15 to 17 people. Manitou Barletta don't hit 15. Avalon Crest, Aqua Patio do. They're all three of them are good. Make your decision based on the dealer. And here is why they the Manitou and the Barletta don't reach that is because it's boats could be identical buoyancy capacity, but Avalon, Crest, and Aqua Patio or Godfrey use a heavier per person number when they do their Coast Guard calculations. The manufacturers get to make their own calculation within U.S. Coast Guard limits. So sometimes they'll use as small as 120 pounds per person. So if the buoyancy of the boat allows for, based on the calculation, 2,000 pounds, take 120, you get a certain number. You take 140, you get a different number. You take 160, you get a different number. But there will be a max weight and a max number of people. And the Coast Guard, if you get pulled over, will take the lower of. So if you've got 10 people that weigh 2,000 pounds and it says you're rated for 17, you're still at your limit. If you have 17 people that each weigh 50 pounds each, you got a bunch of kids on the boat with you, and you're only at 1,500 pounds, but you're at 17 people, you're at your max limit. So that's how it works. For your situation, clearly you want a large number of people, and just know that the weight will matter. So it depends on who those people are as to if you're going to be over the limit. That may factor into your area. I would put, if you were to tell me to rank those three, though, I would say Avalon, Aqua Patio, Crest would be Avalon. I think is number one for sure. I think Aqua Patio and Crest are number two, number three. But you could flip flop. You could convince me to flip flop those probably. Um, with that said, I would still buy an Aqua Patio or a Crest if the dealer was significantly better than the Avalon dealer, because the support that you're going to need, it'll be worth it to go a little bit down in quality, but to have a better ownership experience overall. If that, Killen, if that makes sense, I always put dealer when you get it narrowed down to your short list. As long as there's not a substantial drop from quality level one to the other, Avalon's number one for sure. Crest and Aqua Patio, like I said, but the gap between number one and number two and three isn't significant. But I do like their furniture is they build everything in house. First of all, their furniture is a little bit more durable. I think the boats are a little bit stouter in their construction, the way they do it. But it's not like I'd be like, oh my gosh, you're gonna hate the Crest or Aqua Patio. I think you would still enjoy it, and you won't know the difference because you haven't been riding on an Avalon and then go right to the Crest. If you were to ride them a week apart, you wouldn't notice the difference. If you were riding back to back and look at them back to back, you might, but it's not significant. So go with the dealer, because that could significantly change your enjoyment of coming on and saying, Matt, we had a great season. Or Matt, this broke and the dealer sucked and they didn't stand behind it and they were a pain in the butt to work at. They took my boat. They didn't work on it. They had it sitting in the yard for 3 weeks. I missed the 4th of July. That's the impact that the dealer can have. My Bennington Q with a Verado 400 rated for 1551. Performance is awesome. Yeah. And I bet, again, you'll see this in, I love going to a boat show when I see the capacity plates and you see the same weight on it. So check the weight, Killian. And this may be the factor, or it may not be. Maybe they're using longer tunes and they do have more buoyancy. I don't think so. Based on those 5 brands, I don't think they're doing that. But it could be the case. Or maybe their center tune is a little bit bigger on the models that you're looking at, and so that's raising up their buoyancy number enough to add a couple people. So check that out, but something to think about. Trolls are necessary for, yeah, it is, Savvy. It doesn't bother me. Like, I don't care. You can, it bothers me that they're not getting, because what happens is they get all pissed and they say I'm a scam, and then they don't get the information that could be super valuable for them. That if they got it, they would be like, oh my God, I didn't know that. And it could really, but I don't take it personally. I don't care. Now, my wife, on the other hand, she is like, my husband is honest. My husband is not a scammer. My husband is a good person, and she like wants to fight him. So anyway, it's comes with the territory. I decided to call myself somebody that was smart enough to share his advice and experience. And there are certainly people that are smarter in boating than me. Brock is on the line. He's smarter than me in a countless number of ways when it comes to boating. There are people that could do this and talk more intelligently about a number of different areas. But they're not. And I decided to do it. So I get to take the trolls and the FUs and deal with it. But I also get to do this for a living, which is a pretty darn good trade-off. So, um, they closed in Cluina. Heard they were moving to. Oh, I did not. That I didn't know. Jeff, I'm sorry. I didn't think I caught that in your question. Um, so one of the thing that's going on in all right, so this is global news out of I don't know who this source is, out of Canada. Campion boat sails out of Kelowna after nearly 50 years. Um, left of the once local operation was auctioned off so it could move forward, set up shop in Texas and in part Mexico. Interesting. Okay, so when did this come out? What is my date here? August 24th. Okay, so that happened this summer. I was not aware of that. Um, I was not aware of that. The Canadian the dollar value, the currency exchange has been negative for them bringing boats into the U.S., but they've been selling boats in Canada, and they don't have that impact. I don't think Canada put a luxury tax on boats, but I want to say that was for $250,000 and over, so that wouldn't impact, I don't think, any of their lines. I don't know what's going on with that move if they are back up producing. 2023 Campion boats for sale. Yeah, thank you for bringing that to my attention because that is not something I knew. Let's see. All right, so their website still shows them in Edmonton, in Alberta. Let's see. Their last post was in 2021. That doesn't say a whole lot, but during the pandemic, a lot of them slowed down there. Um, interesting. So the question is, how quickly will they be back up and building boats in Texas and Mexico? The Mexico thing is worrisome. Even Sea Ray's boats are the quality coming out of their Mexico facility on their SPXs is significantly lower than when they were building them in the US. Now, maybe it was a strategy to I talked about the corporate business people getting in and making business decisions over boating decisions. Maybe that has some impact on it as well at Sea Ray, but that would concern me about the quality going from people that have building those boats for a number of years, training all new staff in Texas, which I don't know of any fiberglass manufacturers wherever they're moving in Texas. Um, I don't know if they say where. Kelowna has a high cost of living. Canadians said they're struggling to make ends meet. So I don't know where in Texas they're going, but what is the skill level of the craftsman of fiberglass laying, of the woodworking, of the rigging. It's a different skill to rig a boat, to run the wiring, to lay fiberglass. I don't know exactly what the skill level is in different parts of Texas. There's certainly boat builders down there, but they're mainly smaller ones where the owner is on the production floor or are heavily involved and overseeing it. So it's interesting. I'll have to keep an eye on that because I didn't catch that. I didn't catch that when it came out. So, all right, one more and then we're done. So, John, you get the last one. First time buyer looking 24, 25 foot. We need the bathroom comparing Chaparral 250 to Four Winds, Monterey. Lowest price out the door is the Four Winds with trailer. Any input is appreciated. John, you heard me say it already. Um, the dealer makes a huge difference. Chaparral, I would say Chaparral is the better boat. Um, Monterey Four Winds. I would say Chaparral Four Winds Monterey, I think is the way I would go. Again, Monterey Four Winds, I would probably flip flop those pretty easily. The Let me see what the HD5 is what you're looking at. Um, I think with the Four Winds, some of the styling, there's that eVision Marine that they're putting there. Are you looking at the outboard HD5? Um, so it doesn't really, yeah, Chaparral's 28. That doesn't surprise me, John, that the Chaparral is more. They are a better boat. The one thing about the Four Winds, I think, is the styling is different. Um, okay, so it is the outboard. The styling is different because they have the influence from being a Beneteau company where they've kind of got that a little bit of a European look that they have incorporated. It's not significant, but you can see it in certain aspects of the boat. The Monterey, yeah, I think I'd put Foreman's above the Monterey. Would you say the M45? There are some things I don't know about that particular model. Yeah, the French influence, that European influences, I think you can see it in some aspects of the design. If you like that, I think it looks good. If you go too far in that direction, I don't care for it. But some of it, I think, is one, it's growing on me, but two, I think some of it looks nice. The Monterey, when I inspected them last year at the boat show, there were a few things that I didn't love about the way they did their small parts, the unfinished fiberglass, where they're not doing closed molding, which gives you two smooth sides of fiberglass on the hatches. There's one smooth side, and then the other is rough side that they've got to paint. Um, it's a minor thing, but that is one thing that I remember specifically at the Monterey off the top of my head. The cushions were less, I say, contoured and molded. They were comfortable, but more squared off, not as not as comfortable. But I guess you see the same thing in that in the H5 HD5. You can kind of see that squared off there. I can't see where this lady is sitting. Yeah, little less comfortable. Round, no, that's in the bow. That's not going to matter for comfort. But those are the types of things that I look at. Let's see if we can see the gas assist. That's a good sign on that size boat. But that's a good size gasket around. So yeah, I'm going to go, I'll say Chaparral, Four Winds, Monterey when it comes to quality. But I'm also going to say dealer matters. Other than Chaparral, I would say if you're going between Four Winds and Monterey, dealer is super important between those. I would switch easily with even just a little bit better dealer relationship. I would want, like, really, hey, that dealer's got to be way better. Not way better, but I would want a bigger gap in my expectations and relationship with the dealer, because I know the Chaparral boat is built a decent amount better, if that makes sense. So I appreciate that, Savvy. All right. Um, this would be our first 2-hour show, I think, and we're at an hour 59. So, our very first boat, son just turned 16, came back from Charleston Boat Show. Chaparral, hands down, our favorite. Nice, but 28K is a lot. Yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. So in Charleston, if you're in the Charleston market, I don't know the dealers. I don't know the dealers down there off the top of my head. But there's some really good dealers down in Charleston, and and it's Sunday, so the show's over. But if you're, if you're willing to deal, maybe you can deal a little bit more on that Chaparral and eat into that $28,000 difference. Be like, hey, listen, I really like the Four Winds. They're $28,000 less. I realize you're a better boat, but I don't believe you're $28,000 better. I think you're $7,000 better. And see, okay, you live in Myrtle. I don't know as many Myrtle dealers, but I'm just outside Charlotte, John. So is where I'm at. So okay, I got to stop. 2 hours. Thank you all very much. I'd appreciate anybody that would go leave a review on Facebook or Google. That would be much appreciated. Thanks for the great conversation. Thanks for joining me. And if you're buying a boat, grab the toolkit. I promise you it is valuable. It is helpful. If you're a boat owner, the Boater Boot Camp is definitely valuable. Give me your email. I'll send it to you. You got to log in. You got to set up a password. I know, but that's the way I decided to do it. But it's worth it. And it truly is free. I will try to offer you the best boat captain and the other training programs that we have. They are well worth the investment, according to a bunch of different people, Google reviews and all that. And but if you don't want it, don't buy it. That's fine. You still get the free stuff. It's not a scam. So anyway, I appreciate everybody. Have a great week, and we will see you next Sunday. Take care, everybody.